Hola. Hola. Hola a todos y todas, and welcome to the 14th edition of Enel Focus On. I'm Alessio, Head of Content Social Media at Enel. Today we're live streaming from Bogotà. This marks another step into the journey we started in 2016 with a simple yet powerful idea: creating a unique platform to enable discussion and global scale conversations by letting users experience what Enel Open Power vision is. This is one of the building blocks of Enel Focus On, a series of forward-looking discussions involving leaders and innovators that has engaged millions of people via live streaming. And it's no coincidence that today we're going to talk about customer centricity with Joe Pine. Welcome, Joe. Author of the best-selling book, The Experience Economy. Indeed, experiences are a new type of economic value, and they are distinct from commodities, goods, and services. Joe actually discovered the experience economy from his very first book, Mass Customization, about giving customers what they want and at scale. Joe is going to jumpstart the discussion with a group of experts and innovators and bold voices coming from Colombia, Romania, Spain, Argentina, USA, Brazil, Peru, and Italy. Welcome, everybody. You following us live or live streaming can also join the live conversation using the hashtag #EnelFocusOn. And together with Joe, Lucio Rubio with us. Welcome, Lucio. Lucio Rubio is the country manager of Enel in Colombia and will make a quick introduction just after me. At the end of the talk, we are going to announce where we are going next. So stay tuned to find out and join the discussion. Lucio, I leave you the floor.
Thank you, Alessio, and really, thank you very much for being here with us. Really, I would like to give you, all of you, a warm welcome, and it's a pleasure to host this Enel Focus On here in Colombia. It's the first time, so we really are very, very happy to host this event here. A brief summary of our companies here in Colombia. Enel here in Colombia is one of the largest players in the electrical sector. We have more than 3.5 gigawatts of installed capacity, means more than 21% of the, we supply more than 21% of the total demand here in Colombia. And we have more than 3.5 million clients, means more than 23% of the total energy distribution here in Colombia. We are here in Colombia since 1997, and really this Enel Focus On, the topic of this Enel Focus On is on customer centricity. And we are facing a real challenge in terms of digital transformation. How digital transformation really is impact on our business, and really this is a good event to take some ideas how to improve our attention to our client. So, as I told you before, we are very, very happy, and all of our team here in Colombia, to host this event. Enjoy, and really to have a really good welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lucio. Thank you. So, Joe, looks like the experience is key when it comes to customer centricity. You're welcome.
Thank you, Alessio. As Alessio mentioned, I wrote the book on mass customization, but I didn't actually coin the term. It was in fact coined by a gentleman by the name of Stan Davis, and he wrote about it in his book, Future Perfect. And I read it when I was back at IBM way long ago as a strategic planner. And what I realized is that he was really right, that mass customization was where we needed to go at IBM and increasingly elsewhere as well. And mass customization is basically efficiently serving customers uniquely. In other words, giving every customer exactly what they want at a price they're willing to pay. And the framework that Stan Davis showed in his book was this on market development, where he talked about in the beginning were local markets, where everything was bought and sold locally, it was used locally. But then with the advent of the Industrial Revolution, and particularly the system of mass production, is when we shifted into mass markets, where everybody was part of one big market. And thanks to mass production, we could lower the costs of a tremendous amount of goods and then eventually services, so that people who never could afford them before could now buy these offerings that they could not get. But as time went by, as we went from markets down to segments, where we began to segment the marketplace, usually by demographics and other sort of characteristics, And over time, again, those segments kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller till you got to the point where niches was where all the activity basically was. And what Stan Davis foresaw is that if you take this to its logical conclusion, right, if you go from everybody part of the mass market down to smaller people part of segments and then smaller yet part of niches, what you eventually get to is what he called mass customized markets. In other words, markets where every customer is his own market, what we call today markets of one. And that's what mass customization can serve, is serve these markets of one, where we need to understand that every customer in there is in fact unique. And every customer deserves to get exactly what they want at a price they're willing to pay. Now, of course, that's the way it was back in the time of local markets, is that every customer was unique back then. But they were served by craftsmen for the most part, where you could get things done uniquely for you, but it would cost a lot of money to be able to do that. But you know what? During the time of mass markets, think of Henry Ford and the system of mass production, the same thing was true. Every customer was unique back then too. But because we were willing to forego that uniqueness to buy the same thing for everybody, as Henry Ford said, you can have any color car you want as long as it's black, because we could afford cars, and otherwise we wouldn't be able to afford them if they were craft produced. Same thing with niches, same thing with segments, is that all across this entire progression is that every customer has always been unique. Therefore, it's important to understand that there, in fact, are no markets. There are only customers. There are no markets. There are only customers. Markets, as commonly conceived of in business, simply do not exist. They're a convenient fiction for companies that do not treat customers as the individuals they truly are. But a customer is not part of a market or a segment or a niche or a generation or a persona or any other agglomeration of anonymous buying units of indeterminate size. A customer is an individual, living, breathing person. Or if you sell to other businesses, it's a individual corporate enterprise. So we must therefore ascend to the proposition that all customers are unique. Undeniably, unremittingly, unalterably unique. And what that means is that we need to stop marketing and instead put into practice the principles of customering. Right? Customering. Now, we made up that term, customering, just as marketing was once made up. But let me give you a very simple definition for what customering is. Basically, customering is interacting directly with individual customers to create customer-unique value within them. That's what customering is. And there's a number of principles that we can talk about that really comprise customering and fill out what customering really means. And so the first principle I want to talk about is that we need to go beyond the push mentality that is so prevalent in marketing, where you push your products out there. And you make these products, you put them in inventory, you push them out there, you hope that they meet customers' demands, but even if they don't, you don't care. You're going to push them to continue to sell them. Instead, when we practice customering, we need to go from push to pull. Right? From push to pull, we need to pull from individual living, breathing customers. We need to pull their individual needs, their unique demands, the things that they want, and then respond to them by customizing our offerings to them. So everything has to begin with the customer in a pull mentality that comprises customering. And that leads directly to the principle about understanding we have to go from product centricity, right? Being product centric means we're focused on that product that we made and then again pushing it out there, and everything is about selling that product, to becoming truly customer centric, to focus and starting with the individual living, breathing customer. And everything starts with the customer and again pulls back into the company so we can respond to what they need. When the first time a client asked me to talk to them about customer centricity, I did what we often do, which is go to the dictionary. I went, okay, what do these words mean? And you look up a customer, right? The dictionary will tell you it's one who frequents any place of sale for the sake of purchasing, one who customarily purchases from a particular tradesman, a buyer or purchaser. In other words, a customer is the one who pays you money, right? Very simple. A customer is the one who pays you money. And centricity, what is that? Well, it's a centric quality or position related to a center. So it's customer centricity is the one who pays you money placed at the center of everything you do. And that's what you need to do, is place that customer, individual customer, not market, not segment, not customers, not the customer, as we often say, right? But the individual customer at the center of everything we do. And there is, in fact, one word that I like to emphasize in this definition. The one word I like to emphasize is the word one. Again, it is the one. It is the individual, the unique individual. That's what we need, who we need to place at the center of everything that we do. And that's what Amazon.com does, right? One of the most customer-centric companies in the world. And Jeff Bezos talks about his true customer obsession, and in a letter to shareholders in that, he talked that there are many advantages to a customer-centric approach, but here's the big one. Customers are always beautifully, wonderfully dissatisfied. Even when they don't yet know it, customers want something better, and your desire to delight customers will drive you to invent on their behalf. Right? Customer centricity does not mean pandering to customers, to just do what they tell you that they want you to have. Right? It's understanding who they are and then inventing on their behalf, doing things on their behalf, taking them down a road that allows them to get more of what they want, what they demand, and what they need. So to do that, we need to go from being product-centric to customer-centric. And then the next principle is to go from targeting. You think about targeting, right? Marketing is great at targeting. They're slinging arrows in the backs of people. They're based, again, generally off of demographics, which are all great, except they tell you absolutely nothing about an individual customer, because you don't know if they fit the standard profile of that demographic or not. But we're going to use our demographics, and then we're going to sling these arrows into their backs, bombard them with advertisements that interrupt, basically, what it is that we're trying to do increasingly online, right? We're trying to get something done, and we're going to interrupt you. And that rarely works. Instead, we need to go from targeting to enticing, to entice customers, right? To bring them into a relationship with you. And the best way to entice customers is with an experience that's so engaging that they can't help but pay attention to you, spend time with you, and then pay up by buying your offering as a result. And one of my favorite examples, actually, since we're here in Bogotà, I'll mention, is the Juan Valdez Cafe. You know, the Colombia Coffee Growers Association realized that once Starbucks came about and created all these wonderful coffee drinking experiences, that they were sort of losing control of coffee consumption. So they created the Juan Valdez Cafe in the US, here in Colombia and other places around the world, to be able to expose people to Colombian coffee, knowing that if they get them to drink the coffee, to experience what the taste of the particularness of Colombian coffee, then the chances they'll buy it in the grocery store and elsewhere, in fact, go up, right? It's an enticing experience into Colombian coffee is what Juan Valdez is. And you think about Apple, right? Think about all the wonderful products they want, every one of them designed, right, in particular to be an experience as you use them, right? You just see one and it entices you to come over and want to pick it up and play with it. And they even don't just work on the product, they work on the out-of-box experience, right? There's tens of thousands of YouTube videos on the out-of-box experience of their particular Apple device, that everything is designed just so, to entice you to want to open it and to get into that product. And then again, you have the Apple stores. Right, I can still remember when Steve Jobs announced that Apple was getting into retail. It was back in 2002, and he actually got lambasted in the business press. The people said, you know, you're a manufacturer, a designer. What are you doing going into retail? You're going to tick off your channel partners. You're not going to know how to do it. You're going to fail miserably. And he proved them wrong by not just creating a retail store, but a retail experience. One where you can go in and play with the products, experience them before you buy them. Everything is live. Everything can be touched and used inside of there. And I think of their most iconic store is this one on Fifth Avenue in New York City, where it's just glass cubed, and you walk through there and you descend into this store that's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Right? Really an enticing experience that they have created. And now, of course, it is dependent on great products. Apple's, in fact, the #1 retailer in the entire world in sales per square foot. They get over $6,000 US per square foot across their 400 plus stores around the world, whereas the average retailer gets maybe $300 or $400, an order of magnitude more, and it's because of that experience. But again, also predicated on the great products. If you didn't have great products, then having that great experience wouldn't work as well. But when you combine great products with great experience, with a great enticing experience, that's when magic can happen. But Apple isn't resting on their laurels. They're actually coming out with a new format, the Town Square format, to make it even more of a conversational place, a social place that you sort of happen to find yourself in. And then, of course, where it all comes together is the actual using of Apple's products. and the experience that we have with them, for so many hours every day, right? An entire enticing set of experiences that Apple has created. And that's what it takes to go from targeting to enticing. But once you've enticed them, once they bought from you, once they become a customer, what you'd also like to do then is cultivate learning relationships with them, to bring them into a relationship that grows and deepens over time. And I'll mention again Amazon.com, because Amazon is a relentless learning machine. Right? Everything they do is to learn about you. In my case, they learned, of course, my name and how to greet me. They learned my address to be able to send me products to. They learned my credit card numbers. I don't have to repeat it. They actually learned that I have 2 credit cards, one for business purchases, one for personal purchases, and I can switch back and forth between which one I'm using. And then it learned the names and addresses, for example, of my kids, as I would send them books and other packages when they were in college and so forth, and other friends of mine. And then they, of course, learned what I like to read, what music I like to listen to, what are the things I like to purchase and so forth. So it could recommend things that fit into what I individually want. And I'm often discovering things on Amazon that is recommending to me that are perfect, that are exactly what I want. Not everything is that way, but they do a better job than anyone else at creating this learning relationship with customers. So what a learning relationship is basically is that every interaction you have with a customer is an opportunity to learn about this individual living, breathing customer. And because you learn about that customer, you're going to be able to better customize to them. And when you better customize to them, giving them exactly what they want, then they're going to benefit from that versus buying off a standard, right? You're going to reduce the sacrifice that they encounter because you've customized it to them. And because they benefit, guess what? They're willing to interact with you again. And every interaction is an opportunity to learn. This is what customer centricity really is putting that individual living, breathing customer at the center of a learning relationship. One, again, that grows and deepens over time. And the idea is to get customers to be so into what you're able to do for them, that everything is so customized for them, that they would never even think about going anyplace else. Because even if there was some other company with the exact same capabilities you have, where they could provide the exact same level of customization and learning, if I were to switch to that company, I'd still have to teach it all over again, what I've taught this particular company. And that's a singularly powerful competitive advantage. And you can see that in B2B as well. Ross Controls is a manufacturer of pneumatic valves, right? It's hard to get more B2B than pneumatic valves that you use in assembly lines and so forth. And what they do is that they talk with every individual customer and collaborate them on what their particular needs are. And then they develop a concept that they design on the computer-aided design equipment. And then they show it to the customer. Then they prototype it. They try it out. Does it work? Great. If not, what doesn't quite work? Across this entire time, they might have 3, 4, 5, 6 interactions until they get it exactly right. And once it's exactly right, then they can spread it across all of the company's equipment, all of the customer's equipment. And I've talked with some customers of theirs. One of them told me that they'd never go anywhere else because Ross already knows so much about them today. They're already 5 or 6 product generations ahead of the other customers. Now, not 5 or 6 product generations in terms of technology, but in terms of what this individual customer wants and needs, right? And that's what cultivating a learning relationship is all about. And again, just a tremendously powerful competitive advantage. So with that, you want to go from finished products, where again, we produce this thing, we put it in inventory, we put it on a lot somewhere, we put it on a shelf somewhere, we put it on a rack somewhere, and then we sell off of that, right, the standard product that we hope fits everybody, to actually going to modular capabilities, to modularizing our offerings, right? That's the key to mass customization. So for example, Original Stitch is a company that mass customizes shirts. I'm wearing an Original Stitch shirt right now, where I got to choose all the different modules. What type of collar did I want? What color did I want? The fact that I could put images in the sleeve and so forth, the different fabric in the sleeve, I could monogram it on here, but also then my exact sizes, so I could fit my freakishly long arms, as my wife calls them, and in my torso and so forth, and everything is to a precise fit to me. And that's because they modularize all those pieces and can do different things at every one of those modules, things that fit my exact body. And I think apparel is a wonderful place for mass customization because every body is unique. Now, Lutron is actually the oldest mass customizer that I know of that has been doing this since the 1960s. And Lutron, the founder, the late Joel Spira, invented the dimmer switch. Right? That was the claim to fame, but they didn't stop there. They then went on to all these different types of lighting controls that they developed over the years, every one of which can be individually customized to you. Put together in different ways. They can have sensors that adapt to what you want. They can match any color that you want. They now have smart controls that connect into Alexa and allow you to specify what you're looking for, create different scenes in your house or in your offices and conference rooms and so forth. Right? Everything they do can be customized down to the individual. In fact, I wanted to show you this chart here. This is a chart that Lutron's given me that talks about the SKU number they have, right, that begins with the greatest number of cells. It's a private company, so they don't tell you exactly how many it is, right, but their biggest sellers will do tens of thousands of units every year, I think, at least thousands and thousands. And then it comes down to around, the 400th best-selling unit is here, and the 1800th is down here where it's only doing tens of units of every year. But then actually it goes on from there, and it goes down and down until you get to about 4,000 or so, and now you get lot size of 1. Right? Every one is produced one time in this particular year, but then it doesn't stop. It goes on, and it goes on, and it goes on, right? And it goes on one more, right? Thanks to my freakishly long arms, right? Look, from around 400 to over 15,000, right? That's over 15,000 lot size of 1. Right? That is all thanks to how they modularize each of their units and architect them in a way that allows customers to specify exactly what they want. And you can think of it, they actually have infinite customization because they can actually match any color that you want across the spectrum, and they can make a lighting control exactly for that color. Now, when you think of modularity, think of Lego building bricks. Right? What can you build with Legos? Anything. Right? Anything you want. Why? Because you have a large number of modules, different sizes, different shapes, different colors, and a simple and elegant linkage system for snapping them together. Right? That's what modularity is. Modules plus linkage system. Now, I have in my hand 6 Lego bricks, and they're 2x4s, so there's 8 studs at the top, there's 3 tubes at the bottom, allow them to connect together. How many different ways do you think I can connect these 6 Lego bricks together, not counting color? Any engineers? Anyone?
6 by 5 by 4 by 3.
Right, 6 factorial, that's what engineers say, that's 720, right? That's a great guess, but completely wrong. If that's how many ways I can put these 6 colors together on top of each other just like this. But in fact, there are so many ways that these can connect together. The actual number, counting all the different ways, is 915,103,765 with just 6 bricks. Right? That's the power of modularity. Right? When you modularize your products, or you modularize your processes, or even modularize information about your products and processes, then you can very quickly get down to individual customer demand. Now, I'm not going to go through this modularity typology. I published it in my book, Mass Customization, but it does talk about sectional modularity, is what Lego bricks are across. And I always thought, what they're called, I always thought that was the most robust level of modularity. But I've realized most recently that there's another level of modularity. The most robust type of modularity that's ever been invented and ever will be invented is, in fact, digital modularity. Digits are modules, right? You have 2 values, 0 and 1. But you can string them together in zeros and ones forever that you can, anything you can digitize, you can customize. Once it enters the realms of zeros and ones, you can instantaneously change a 0 to a 1 and vice versa. And so anything you can digitize, you can customize. And that's why digital technology is again, so important. And a way, if we can digitize our products, if we can digitize our processes, if we can digitize information about those products and processes, then we can get down to that individual unit of demand and serve that individual customer. Automated Insights, for example, is a company that uses natural language generation. So they take in data and then they create stories, narratives about the data that they can then customize to every individual. So for example, in fantasy football season, they take all the raw data about every player and all the things that they've done and take that and turn it into a narrative for every one of their 70 million customers on Yahoo Sports, for example. Right? 70 million people are getting individual stories based off the data that they have created. They call it hyper-personalization. And why is all that possible? Because you can digitize it. And you digitize it, you can understand it, you can turn it into a story, you can make that story meaningful for every customer. So they spend much more time on Yahoo Sports as a result, and that's very, very much time that they view as time well spent. And that's what modularity allows you to do, right? It's really the core of what we're talking about, to be able to do customering. And what it also does is it allows you to stop producing economic waste, which mass producers do all the time. Anytime you see anything on sale, right, that's economic waste. They produce something that nobody wanted, and so they have to put it on sale. In the apparel industry, a dirty secret is actually like a huge percent, I'm talking 20, 30% of the apparel made every year is actually shredded. And because they couldn't even sell it on sale. And nobody wanted it, and that is economic waste. Anytime you use the Earth's resources to produce something that no individual customer wants, you've wasted those resources. But what mass customization and customering allows you to do is to do only and exactly what each individual customer wants, right? Only and exactly, that's the key. So you think about this capability of mass customization. The essence of mass customization is you have a portfolio of customers, every one of them individual, every one of them unique, every one of them deserving to get exactly what they want at a price they're willing to pay. And then you have a portfolio of capabilities. These are the things that you know how to do for customers that you modularize. And once you modularize them, you can understand every individual customer's needs, what do they want at this moment in time, and then bring down only and exactly what they want to create a customer unique experience chain, one developed just for them, where everything is dynamically linked together. So an example of that is PillPack, is a pharmacy in Boston, actually, that mass customizes the medicines that you get, right? So with the pharmacy, they get all of the different pills that you need to take. They put them into these little packets. That packet is the linkage system. The pills are the modules that you put there. They print your name on it. They print what each of the pills are. They print the day and the time that it's supposed to be taken. So you simply rip off every time when you're supposed to take those pills. And you ever wonder, like, did I take my pills this morning? I don't remember. Well, you just look, because if the pack isn't there anymore, you took them. If it is, you didn't take them. Not surprisingly, Amazon bought these guys for $1 billion, right, to get into the pharmacy industry. The other thing you need in here is what I call a design tool. A design tool is something that allows you to match what customer needs with company capabilities, because customers don't always know what they need. And even if they know, they can't always articulate it. So how do you draw it out of them? How do you figure out what they need and then put that back into operations to do something unique for individual customers? And the easiest mistake that mass customizers make is they overwhelm their customers with too many choices. And fundamentally, customers don't want choice. They just want exactly what they want. So how do you help them figure out? And that's what a design tool is required to do. They don't have to be rocket science, right? You can go into Domino's pizza site and build your own pizza. See what all the modules look like on that particular pizza. Once it's exactly what you want, then you can press the order. And then not only that, you can track your individual pizza as it goes through the process of being made and getting in the oven and doing the quality check. And then that last light turns red just as they ring the doorbell and deliver it to your home. And of course, you can do that all on mobile, and you can track it on your watch if you want. Right? Those are design tools. And you need to do that in order to do only and exactly what each individual customer wants. Right? Key element of customering that it enables you to do. Then you need to go from products and services. Right? In other words, thinking about our offerings are only products and services, although in the banking industry, often it comes out like one word, products and services, really one long word. Instead, you need to understand the full possibility of creating economic value for your customers that in fact goes far beyond products and services. And if you think about it, this is the core framework in the book, The Experience Economy, where we've gone from an agrarian economy based off commodities through an industrial economy based off goods, and in the latter half of the 20th century, went into a service economy. And what happened is that both goods and services have all become commoditized. Or people treat them like a commodity, where they don't care who makes them, they care about the brands, they care about the features, the benefits, they're all pretty much the same anyway. They come to care about three things and three things only, and that's price, price, and price. Right? That's when your products and services have been commoditized. And what that means is that it's time to move to a new level of economic value, to go beyond the goods and services to staging experiences for your customers. So experiences are not a new economic offering, they've always been around, But we can now separate them out from services and say this is a distinct economic offering, as distinct from services as services are from goods. It's basically when you use goods as props and services as a stage to engage each and every person in an inherently personal way, and thereby create a memory, which is the hallmark of the experience. Right? Experiences actually reach inside of us. Commodities, goods, services, they exist outside of us. But in terms of customer, you're now reaching inside of the individual customer and engaging them. That's what it takes to create an experience, to engage each individual customer and then create that memory. And how I discovered this, again, is through mass customization, recognizing that if you mass customize a good, you automatically turn to a service. You mass customize a service, you turn it into an experience. Like customization is the antidote to commodization. You know, commodization is like the law of gravity. It drags you down year after year, but customization lifts you up. But there's also one more possibility, because experiences would be commoditized as well. Well, what happens when you customize an experience? What happens when you design an experience that's so appropriate for this particular person, exactly the experience that they need at this moment in time? Well, then you can't help but turn to what we often call a life-transforming experience. In other words, an experience that changes us in some way, and that we call a transformation. And a transformation is the fifth and final economic offering in this progression of economic value, where you're using experiences as a raw material to guide people to change, to help them achieve their aspirations. And this is the highest level offering you can create, because with transformations, the customer is the product. Doesn't matter all the stuff you do. The question is, did they achieve their aspirations? So whether you're in fitness centers, whether you're in healthcare, whether you are in management consulting with B2B customers, recognize that customers rarely buy what you're selling. What they really want is they want to be changed. And they're hiring you to help them do that. And so that's the full panoply of economic offerings that are available out there. And if you could summarize it with one word, is with individualization. It's getting closer and closer and closer. Right? Again, commodities, goods, services outside of people, experiences inside of us, and transformations change us from the inside. So you're individualizing your offerings, and that is a key thing with customering. Right? So understand the full panoply of economic offerings. And then the last principle I want to talk about is to go from multiple customers in a market. Right? That's what markets are. All the customers are in this market. To actually going to multiple markets inside of a customer. Right? Understand multiple markets exist inside of a customer. And let me show you that way. You know, when I get to this diagram, I always think about, okay, what's next? Every framework, I'm always asking what's next. And you think you get down to every customer's own market and that's it. But in fact, there is something next. And if I show it to you this way, I think you'll get it. As you think about mass markets, it's that all customers are part of that market. Segment markets, you still have many customers a part of the segments and then multiple segments. You get down niches, you have fewer and fewer customers that are part of that particular niche market, but still multiple customers in the market. And then what you see, what that logical progression gets you down to is every customer is his own market again. And now perhaps you can see what's next. What's next is those lines cross. And we go from multiple markets in a customer, or multiple customers in a market, to understand that there are multiple markets inside of each customer. This is where markets really do exist. You know, the original definition of market is that place in the center of town, usually, where buyers and sellers would come together to exchange their wares for money. Right? That's what a market is, and that's what it is here. You need to understand, but what market am I in at this time? When I travel, and I'm traveling for business versus leisure, two different markets. When I bring my wife along, again, two more different markets. When I bring the kids along, two more different markets, right? And begins to multiply out there. And over time, you can see that in every industry you're in, that there are multiple markets within the customer. And how do I understand what market they're in at this moment in time? And that progression is only going to get more and more clear, particularly as thanks to our mobile phones, where we can do anything we want, basically, at any time that we want. So understand the multiple markets within each individual customer. So these are all the principles of customering. Thinking about going from this side to that side, from pushing to pull, from targeting to enticing and to learning relationships, from being product-centric to being customer-centric, focused again on the individual living, breathing customer, from going from finished products to modular capabilities, and therefore from producing economic waste, which you can't help but do if you have finished products, to getting down to doing only and exactly what each individual customer wants. going beyond so-called products and services to understanding the full panoply of economic offerings, experiences, and transformations. And then finally going from multiple customers in a market to understanding multiple markets in every single customer. Now, one company I want to point to that I think is basically doing all of this is Carnival Corporation, the cruise company. I had the opportunity to be with the CEO of Carnival Corporation, Arnold Donald, at the 2017 Consumer Electronics Show, where they announced the Ocean Medallion. And the Ocean Medallion is this IoT device that allows them for the first time to know who every individual customer is on their ships. When you book a Carnival cruise, it's actually starting with Princess Cruises, and they've got 3 to 5 ships right now, and they're going to expand out to Princess Cruises, then on to each of Carnival's brands over time, and have a single customer image of each one of those customers, no matter what brand they're doing. But when you book that cruise, that they ask you to upload the image of your passport so you can get what they call Ocean Ready, and tell it your preferences for what you like to do on a cruise. You know, is it diving? Is it other sports? Is it entertainment? And so forth. And then they mail you an Ocean Medallion that is engraved with your name right on there that you bring with you. And whether you put it in your pocket, you have it on a watch pendant or a neck pendant and that, once you start going through there, every employee knows who you are. As you go up the gangplank, right, you don't have to show your passport again. You simply get close to them. They have a tablet, and up pops your name and your picture, and a check mark your Ocean Ready, and then you can go on the ship. You walk to your cruise, your stateroom door, and you touch the door, and it completes the electrical circuit. They know it's you because of the Ocean Medallion, and it opens the door and greets you by name. And every employee can greet you by name. You don't have to pay for anything. You can do it with the medallion. But then they're also tracking your preferences, and they're tracking how you rate things, and they're tracking how much time you spend in particular experiences to see how well you like them, so they can give you personal experience invitations for what you might want to do, creating a mass customized itinerary, right, of that entire stay on the cruise. They can even understand the multiple markets within the customer. They can learn, for example, that if you are on the pool deck with your kids, your favorite drink is an iced tea with no lemon. When you're in a bar with your buddies, it's a mojito. And when you're in a restaurant with your wife, it's a glass of Shiraz. Right? Again, same customer, but based on the context. And now they can understand that context because of the digitization of it, the digital transformation that they are undergoing on each one of their ships. They can understand that individual customer and treat them individually and do all of the things we're talking about with customering. Right, so using that as an example, using all the principles that I've talked about, I think the key thing that we as companies need to undergo, particularly as we think about transforming digitally, which allows us therefore to customize to those individual customers, then we do in fact need to stop marketing and to start customering. Thank you, Alessio.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was great. I'm pretty curious to know what did you experience at the time when you first came out with this mass customization theory, because it was kind of visionary theory.
Yeah, that was late 1992 when I first wrote that book, and there weren't a ton of examples of what it was, but you could, again, because of that progression that Stan identified, because of technology, you can see how technology was bringing down the cost of customization. And so you could see that this is the direction that they were going. In fact, the subtitle was The New Frontier in Business Competition. And today it's not a new frontier. I think of it as a new imperative that companies need to do. And you take that mass customization capability and then you put it inside of the idea of customering rather than marketing. And I think the capabilities that it enables you are just amazing, and how you can overshadow your competition with it.
Cool. Okay. Thank you very much. So, any other question from the guys here?
I have one. So, you talked about all of the virtues of personalization.
Can you introduce yourself, please?
Oh yes, I'm Samir Stefan. I'm a co-founder of etc. It's a tech blog, and I do a couple of other things. Okay. Joe, so you talk about all the virtues of personalization, of targeting the right amount of information from you so I can offer you whatever you really like. Can you share with us your views on the counterbalance of personalization and privacy?
That's always the first question. Awesome. That's always the first question. Cool. So there's a couple of things. One is obviously, the company has to keep the information private, right? They have not to let it leak out up there, and the amount of different levels of security that Carnival has is really amazing. The Ocean Medallion itself does not have any identifier, any information on it. It's just an identifier. So you drop it, you lose it, you tell them, boom, that number's gone, they give you a new one. They actually laser etch it on the ship, just for you. And obviously you can't have it leak and all that. And also you don't want to sell it to other people, right? Where you become the product that you're selling to others. But what research and what practice has shown is that if you provide value to me as a customer, then I'm more than willing to share my personal information with you, right? Again, given the security is taken care of, and I see the value. So, one of the things I tell clients is, stop asking customers for things that do not benefit that customer. Right? It may benefit some anonymous customer, it may benefit you overall in that, but only ask customers for things that they can see the tie-in between what you're asking or what you're capturing, what you're tracking, to how it could benefit them individually, and then almost always they're willing to do that. There are exceptions. I'm sure there's people on every Carnival ship that's going to say, nah, I don't think I really want to do that. But over time, that percentage is basically going to go to zero. I mean, we already carry around these devices with us that track everything that we do and all of that. Why? Because we see the value in it.
Joe?
Thank you.
I'm Gonzalo Vegas. I'm from Peru. I'm the co-founder of Chasqui. And I wanted to ask you about the consumer goods companies that normally are using distributors, or for example, here in Latin America, a very important part of our supply chain is the mom and pop shops.
Yep.
So sometimes you cannot control all the way the relationship with the end customer. What is your take on that?
Right. It does make it more difficult if you can't control that relationship. I'm often telling customers, like Apple's, go direct. I think that is the best way, if you can do it, to firm up and complete that individual relationship. But then you've got, if not, then you've got to give your channel partners the tools. Right, the tools to recognize this, the tools to respond. And truly mom and pop shops often know who their individual customers are, right? The problem is usually on the other end, right? They know what they want, they know when they want it, they know how they want it, they can do things for them because they actually know them inside here as individuals versus having to have a profile on them. But if you can combine that individual visceral knowledge that they have with the systematic mass information that a company can complete, can have in its databases and then be able to respond to that with customers, then you may very well have the best of both situations.
Joe, first of all, congratulations for your conference. I think it was really enlightening. I'm Antonio Serrano from Spain. I am a lawyer and a commercial law professor. Together with, I am a CEO of a consultancy firm related to digital transformation.
All right.
And I wanted to ask you something. As I told you yesterday while we were having dinner, we have commodities, then goods, then services, then experiences, then transformations. What's next? Is there something that, can we customize as well transformations?
Well, it's a great question. I love that question. And I am always asking what's next. We did. My partner Jim Gilmore and I, we asked what's next. And the conclusion we came to is that nothing's next, that only higher levels of transformation, that when I meet one aspiration, I'll have another aspiration and so forth. And the basic reason is because that heuristic of commoditization and customization. That if the customer is the product, I think transformations resist true commoditization because every person is inherently unique. Right? You can't commoditize us as human beings in the same way you can commoditize other offerings that are outside of changing us. And customizing transformation, like I said, so we thought, what could you customize that would be even more than a transformation? The only thing we could think of was actually perfecting people. And when you talk about perfecting people, right, that's not the province of man, that's the province of God. And so we don't think that that's an economic offering. So, we could be proved wrong, but that's our viewpoint, that these are the 5 offerings that you need to consider and how you create economic value for your customers.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. I guess we have a question over there, and after I'll leave the floor to you.
Thank you. I am Juanita Rodriguez from Colombia. I'm working in innovation in Bogotà. And I wanted to go a little bit beyond the Samir question. You have been talking about that not always the client knows exactly what he wants, that we have in data a powerful tool to to really define what the client wants. So at the end, do you think that we can have a non-optimistic future, as Noah Harari is telling us that we are going to end the free will, and that the machines are going, and this kind of data analytics and artificial intelligence is going to take from us the free will and what really make us human?
Right. So first we get theological, now we get philosophical. That's a great question. My personal belief is that, to the last part of the question, is that AI can never replace human beings and what they can do. I don't think you can ever get true intelligence, get a true mind, actually, out of an artificial intelligence. I think what we need to focus AI on is actually more being IA, right? Intelligent augmentation, to augment what people are able to do and enhance their ability to do it through the intelligence that they add. And yes, there'll be a lot of replacement of human beings on things that the computers can do much more effectively. There'll be entirely new things that could not be possible before, that humans could never do before because of AI. But that in the end, that one of the fundamental uses of it will be, in fact, to augment what humans do, make them even better at what they do. And so the end result, you get those three outcomes from artificial intelligence. But no, I'm very much of a free willer, and I think that will continue.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, hi. I'm Maria from the banking industry from Colombia. I worked in the first digital or neobank in Colombia. The name is Neki. And I would like to ask how a company can prepare for the individualization. I mean, in the banking industry is more, I think that is more difficult because we are so focused on products and services, and it's so difficult to see a customer as an individual. So how do you think we can prepare for that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It really comes down to mindset, right? You've got to change the mindset of the organization to across all the spectrum of things I talk. Because yes, it's products and services, and to understand, no, there really are different things we can experience, and transformations, I think, are key for banking, because money is always a means to an end, right? And if I sell the end rather than means, then I'll gain much more economic value. Why are my customers using the money? And that's really gets you into the transformation business. So one of the ways to start change that mindset, because it's not something you can do, immediately, is to actually get into experience and transformation offerings. And that will start to break up that products and services mindset. And then you can actually say, we never use that term again, right? We're not using that term again. We're going to talk about our economic offerings, or our offerings that we have. Or specifically, we do have goods, we do have services. Banks never have goods, actual physical goods, they're all services. But services, we do have experiences, we do have transformations. When you change vocabulary, then you start to change the mind. And then when you change the mind, you start to change behavior. But it gets down to that. And also you think about it as a digital transformation, right? We use the term digital transformation is a transformation. It's an internal one, not an external one, but also treat it as a transformation. So what does it take to transform? It takes a set of experiences that take you from where you are today to where you want to be. So you need to design those organizational experiences as organizational units, as down to the individual employee, that's going to take them on that journey to, in fact, be transformed themselves, that will then transform the company and embrace the digital transformation that it wants to do all of these things.
Okay. Oh, you first.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you. I'm Jose Carlos Garcia, journalist here in Colombia. I'm a hard user of Neki, by the way. So, Joe, we must think in a new KPIs in this world of customer centricity, maybe emotional KPIs, and how to measure them.
Yeah. So it is difficult to measure, but we do have to get at emotion, and increasingly we're able to do it. One of the uses of AI is, in fact, to be able to do facial recognition, understand what emotion somebody actually is happening. Not there yet, but it's coming down the road, or doing sentiment analysis on what they're writing and so forth. But it's also important that one of the key measurements is actually what I call customer sacrifice. Customer sacrifice.
Sacrifice.
Right. So think of customer satisfaction. Right. Customer satisfaction that all companies measure is the difference between a customer expects to receive and what they actually receive. at which where you can meet that customer satisfaction, you can fall short, or you can exceed customer satisfaction. But the problem with satisfaction is that our expectations often rarely meet what we really truly want and need. Right? Sacrifice asks, forget about the expectations. What's the ideal offering that this customer needs in this moment in time, recognizing the market that it's in at this moment in time, and what do they have to settle for today? Right? And that gap is their sacrifice. It's how much they sacrifice from what they ideally want to what you can give them. So when you learn about that customer, you understand that customer, then you begin to customize to them. You may not be able to close that gap all at once, but you get in that learning relationship, then over time you get closer and closer and closer to exactly what they want. You know, so like for example on a shirt, if I have a sleeve that comes out to here, right, I'm sacrificing because there's too much material. If it's all the way back here, I'm sacrificing because it's too little, right? This is exactly where I want it, right? And understanding that sacrifice across not this dimension, but all my size dimensions, all my desires, across everything, that's the key measurement that we need to have, is where do our customers sacrifice today from what they really, truly want and need.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Hi, Joe. My name is Cecilia Hugany from Argentina, and I am a customer experience evangelist.
Love it.
I was thinking about the mass customization concept that is incredible, and how you take that outside the digital world. How you take that to every interaction that happens in a call center, in a store, because at the end of the day, that customer experience will be created by each interaction that the customer has with the company. So how you do that?
Right, that's beautiful, because you actually do need to do it. You know, I emphasize the customization of the offering itself, but you need to customize the interactions. And that is true whether it is in a store, whether it's in an email, whether it's on your website, whether it's in a contact center, however that might be. And so one of the first things you need that single customer image. You need that single profile of who this customer is and be able to identify them at all of those various touch points, right? Once you have that, then you can then respond with what you know about that customer, but you got to give the tools to the person. You know, in the contact center, it has to pop up who this customer is and what their past interactions are and so forth. In a retail store, and I'll give you one example, like Neiman Marcus has an app on your phone that if you have it open, you can decide not to, but if you have it open when you walk through the phone, right, with geofencing, they know it's you, sends a signal to your favorite salesperson if they're there. They can immediately look up what your sizes are, what your color preferences are, what you've bought in the past. They can make an appointment, come and see me, I'm back over here, et cetera, at this time. And so you begin to customize that interaction because you know who the customer is, you know where they are, and then you remember all the interactions that you had with them in the past. You can even continue conversations, you know, that started in retail, continued at a contact center, and then came back in retail or reinforced through email and so forth. Right? All of that is possible because it's all digital information.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Hi, Joe. Stacy Bernstein, Global Director of Digital Health at Weber Shandwick. I think it's really interesting because what you were just describing is a very humane interaction. But when we think about customer centricity and digital transformation at scale, it is an interesting dichotomy because you're talking about individualization and customization, and at the same time a very inhumane interaction, right? And something, I don't think machines are going to take over the world, I hope not. Right. But you know, there is data that shows that even today customers would prefer to speak with a machine than they would a human being. And so how do you sort of grapple with that dichotomy of we're talking about the importance of customization and individualization, knowing that a lot of that will actually be powered by non-human forces.
Well, the basic reason most people prefer to talk to, or many people prefer to talk to a machine versus a person, is that they get better service from the machine than they do the person. And so they make a very intelligent decision. But if we empower our people, if we allow them to bring their humanity into it, because I don't think we should like script every word that they say and so forth, but we give them the information that does enable them to have an intelligent conversation with the customer and actually resolve their problems or fulfill their needs, whatever it might be, then I think the pendulum will swing back. But companies often make it more difficult to talk to people, you know, particularly with their voice response systems and that, where you got to press all these things. That's really just delayed you. You know, you're just trying to press 0, give me a rep. when you do have a problem that you know only they can solve. But AI will make it more reasonable. You think about chatbot interactions is that you can customize those as well. They can be mass customized like other interactions. So it'll always be a mixture. And again, it's also depends on what market I'm in at the moment. Sometimes I'm in the market, I want nice and easy, convenient, I want to get in and out, I'm perfectly fine with the machine. Other times, I think that the problem is going to need more and I want to talk to a person, or that I don't actually know quite what I want and I want that help. I don't have a great fashion sense, right? I need help from other people.
I think your fashion's great, Joe.
So, but that's because my wife picked it out for me before I left. That depending on what market I'm in, what I'm shopping for, I'll want an interaction, with the machine sometimes and with a human sometimes. But the core is let machines be machines, let humans be human.
Yeah. And I'm happy to say that our discussion keeps attracting a lot of people, following us live. So leave the floor,
Hi,
and after I guess we will have some questions.
Okay.
I'm Cristian Chinabirta from Romania. I'm a digital entrepreneur and blogger. And I want to thank you, Enel, for making me feel like I'm in the jury of Enel's Got Talent. So I guess I'm speaking for all the jury here. Joe, you just got the golden buzz for all of us for your presentation. I'm going to borrow a few of your words and say that the internet does not exist. It exists only customers who use internet. Mm-hmm. So Google just announced that they removed 2.3 billion ads, harmful ads, last year.
2.3 billion.
2.3 billion Google just announced. Yep. But despite of that, we all think, the general opinion, public opinion is that they are doing nothing to protect us from the dark side of the internet. The marketing or the customering, as you said, are for people who live in the internet and experience the dark side of the internet. What's your advice for the companies? How can they deal with this dark side of the internet, because this is very huge?
Well, you can liken it to sort of in banks having a fiduciary responsibility, right? To think on behalf of the customers. In the same way, internet companies, particularly those that are allowing you access to all the information, to all the possibilities out there that are pushing ads out to you, they have a similar moral responsibility, right, to keep that direct out of there and thereby make it more of an uplifting experience. I think that all corporations should have a meaningful purpose, that really aligns who they are, and that it should be one that enriches humanity. And not enough times do we have purpose to exist as companies that recognize that we exist to enrich humanity. And that's our economic offering should be able to do that. Our interaction with the customer should do that. And I think of that as one of the things that would allow you then to understand what are the things we should not do because it doesn't fit with the purpose and it doesn't enrich humanity as a result. And then what are the things that we can do. And it's good that every company sort of recognizes that and figures it out.
Okay, cool. And we have a tweet from one of the users following us. So it's Rudy Bressa. With the customer centricity concept, the approach of companies towards customers has changed. Has it also changed the way energy companies think about business? I guess, Lucio, I leave the floor to you.
Well, I think the energy companies, as Joe said before, we are focused on product centricity. Yep. Only electricity, produce electricity, and deliver electricity. So I think we can move in this scale that you present before, and we can move from product centricity to good service and experience. In our case, here in Colombia, we create a product to enrich the experience of our clients and to create value for them. We create a product, Crédito Fácil Codensa, we say here, is a way to give money, to lend money for our clients, the clients who have low incomes, and this kind of people doesn't have an account. doesn't have an account banking, and for them it's the first time that they want really a loan and to enrich and to improve his quality life. So we are focused on electricity, but we can move to enrich experience of our clients through this kind of products. So we, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, I think the energy companies has a great opportunity to move on this scale and to really create value for our clients.
Actually, you can move. You are moving. Actually,
we are
that's
moving. Yeah, Creative Fadil Codensa is really
beautiful
product to give financing to our clients who never get a loan, a credit in a bank, because many of the people who we serve in this moment doesn't have an account. Yeah. So it's impossible for them to improve their quality life. They don't have access to the banks. So they trust us, and we deliver them loans. And in this sense, we really make a special emotional connection with our clients. And in this moment, really, they prefer us because we trust him in the past. So I think this product is a good example to create a good experience, really increase the value of for our clients.
Based on real trust on you, yeah.
Based on a real trust.
Any other question from Twitter? Disappear. Desiree, okay, Haimovic. Which industries do you feel will mostly be affected by concept of experience economy in the next few years? Joe?
It might be easier to answer which industries won't be. It is something that is affecting all industries around the world. And actually, I'll give you a counterintuitive answer, is that one of the industries that the experience economy is most affecting today are actually industries that have always been in the experience business. You think about museums and amusement and theme parks, tourism in general, and that is because the problem is now everybody's getting into their business. Everybody's creating an experience, so it raises the bar. What they used to be able to do and have, this was a great experience, 30, 20, even 10 years ago, now isn't as great experience because of everything we're exposed to, all the experiences that are out there. And so they are some of the industries that really have to pay attention to this, or they're going to become commoditized as an experience.
And we can make a wider discussion because, yeah, it's a matter of industries, but it's in general a matter of everyone. Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah. Okay, any other question? Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Me again, but not with philosophical questions. Normally, there's a lot of people that believe that this conversation is just for big companies or technology-based startups. How is the best way to bring SMEs to this conversation? Here in Colombia, more than 98% of the companies are small and medium-sized companies. So how to bring them to this?
Well, I always like pointing out that every big company is once a small company. that they all start that way. But there are ways to do it. So one, to think about experiences in particular, that the easiest way to get in the experience business is understand that work is theater, right? That whenever workers are in front of customers, they're on stage and need to act in a way that engages the audience. And so what you need to do as a company is to direct your workers to act, and help them define their role and characterize that, then act it on your business stage. And that doesn't require any capital equipment. That doesn't require an investment. It just requires an understanding, a mindset of theater, and understanding, again, what roles that you are playing out there. When it comes to technology, one of the beautiful things is that there are so many companies that are out there providing platforms that you can take advantage of, that you can access on demand, the software as a service and infrastructure as a service and platforms as a service and so forth. And I'll mention that anything that is as a service, right, it's because they're taking something that was a monolithic product and they're bringing it down to a scale that you can take advantage of as an individual customer on demand, customized to you, right, what you need in the moment. So SMEs can take advantage of those sorts of things and be able to use those platforms and the infrastructure that exists out there without having to make a huge fixed investment in making all of this happen. And you can also start very simply. You know, I know mom and pop shops that like use notebooks to keep track of what their customers want. Put Post-it notes around the business. You know, behind the bar, I got a Post-it note for what this person ordered, so I can offer it to again, and so forth. You know, you can start there, and then you can start to digitize that, take advantage of a platform to make it real in your business.
I have another question. Many companies are now in the digital journey, but I think that we all agree that it's not only develop an app and digitalize your actual offering. It's more than that. What are the key factors to set on stage in a digital world to transform?
Right. Well, you know, it goes back to what I said, is to understand that the power of that digitization resides in how does it create greater economic value for your individual customers. And if you start with that, you know, again, which is the mindset of pull, the mindset of customer centricity and so forth, and then sort of work your way backwards to figure out how the digital technology investments you make is going to make a difference there. Often what happens is that they're digitizing the back end, and that may be well or good or not. It may save you money, but it's not going to really create greater value for your customers unless it's reaching those customers and is at the front end. So I would, you know, I'd always try and work, you know, from customer back into the company and making that digital transformation.
One question, Joe. Time seems to be the currency for experiences.
Yes.
So, but time is limited.
Yes.
For every customer.
Those are my exact words. I mean, yes.
How can we attract the attention of these customers with limited time?
Right. That's funny. You're exactly right. Time is limited. It is the currency of experiences. So the way to grab their attention is with an experience, again, so engaging to entice them in that they can't help but spend time with you. They can't help but give you their attention and then buy your offering as a result. And so I'll give you the number one principle for making that work is actually charging admission for the experience. It's charging for the time. If time is the currency, you should be charging for the time that your customers spend, whether a admission fee or a membership fee or some other way of charging for time. And there's hundreds of companies that are now doing that in ways you never thought. Retailers that charge admission, if not for the entire place, and places within the place. Or restaurants that charge admission. You have to print out a ticket and bring the ticket to you for a particular time, particular performance of the meal that you get to be able to come there, and on the list to go. Cafes that charge admission and give away the coffee for free, right? That's happening now. If you charge admission, then you know you've created an experience worth having, right? That's the key. And if you don't charge admission, the chances are you're not going to create that experience. And plus, an admission fee sends a signal that this is a place worth experiencing. And so even though many companies, you think like, well, how in the world could I do that, even into a bank? How could I charge admission to a bank? Well, you need to think richly about what experience would provide enough value that customers would be willing to pay you to have that experience, right? Obviously around the financial services that you provide, but I'll guarantee you it's possible. And if somebody's not already doing it, somebody will in the next couple of years. Why not you?
Cool. Guilherme has a question.
Yeah. Hi, Joe. I'm Guilherme from Brazil, Tecmundo website. I'd like to know, how do you see this customer centricity concept in the electricity sector? How this could be applied, how the energy companies could prepare themselves for the future using this concept?
Well, you know, energy is a commodity, right? It is an actual commodity that the price is set by, and that's actually a place where commodities are a place where you actually do have markets that set the price of the commodity. There's not much you can do about that. So it's everything outside of that, right? It's not the what that you provide. You need to think about how you provide it, how you interact with customers, how you build them, and then begin to build offerings that make sense around that. So I love the idea of the credit card with the micro loans that you can give people that surrounds that relationship that we've created with this energy. And now let's expand that. How can I create value for that, my individual energy customer that makes sense to them as something I can do that allows me then further that relationship. And so those are the sorts of things. You can still, even with a credit card, you can customize payments and amounts and timing and so forth. One of the things I'm surprised credit card companies don't do is like, what day of the month would you like to pay it? right? Instead of it's always, we're going to tell you what day it is. Right, no, let me tell you what day of the month, because I would love to be all the same day, right? Just boom, get it all done and that. Or you may want it the day after your check comes in, that's deposited into your account and so forth. So even that is a little bit of a customization that virtually nobody does today, and that would enhance the relationship that you have. So think about the how, not just the what.
It's a small thing that could make a huge
Exactly.
difference.
Yeah. Talking about small things, when I speak with my customers, most of them always ask, they always say, my product is super difficult to personalize, right? In financial services is one of the most, that they use the phrase the most, and you're like, no, it doesn't. No, it isn't. And I always use an example that I really like, and probably it closes with what Juanita was asking, for non-tech-based companies. And it's the example of Coca-Cola and how they changed the bottles and the cans. That instead of having the Coca-Cola logo, it would have your name.
Right.
So it's the same product, but you create a full, complete experience for the person that's going in. And you would go into the stores and you would see the kids running around looking for their names. You would see the moms and the fathers looking for the bottles with their last names to put it in the middle of the table for Sunday lunch.
And then they take a picture of it, they show it on Instagram, social media, and so on.
And then the product was the same. It was only the experience you created around it that changed what you felt towards the product, right?
And are you familiar with Coca-Cola freestyle machines?
Yeah.
Right, where you can design your own cup of Coke. You can put whatever you want in it. You can mix caffeine with decaf. You can add lemon, lime, cherry, and so forth. You can mix orange in there, whatever, however you want it. And technologically, there's no reason you can't do that in a grocery store. Right, where you actually where you fill bottles with this. You can have a machine that does that if the demand is there, where everybody can come in and design their own Coke and then put their own name on it. How much more do you think they'd sell if you're able to do that? Yeah.
Wow. So guys, I think the time is over, and it was a great discussion. We learned a lot about customer centricity in the digital world. So thank you, Joe. Thank you, Lucio. Thank you to all the guys here, and all the guys, those following us live. I remind you the next occasion that we will have in NYC on April 11th, it will be in the next Enel Focus On. So thank you very much, everybody, and see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Alessio.
Thank you. Thank you.